you like to do a short interview?
What are you doing?
I like to reflect with people about things. If you're willing, I'd like
Sure.
to.
I thought you had a petition or something to sign.
No petitions.
Oh, cool.
It's more of an interview style thing. I just ask you questions and I try to be neutral.
Sure, okay.
Awesome. Is it okay if I record it?
Sure.
Awesome. You're amazing.
I stopped. I don't know why.
Well, thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. My name is Violet, by the way.
Hi, nice to meet you, Violet. I'm Aaron.
Aaron. Nice to meet you, Aaron. So I like to talk to people about beliefs that they hold. Ooh. Sorry about that. I like to talk to people about beliefs that they hold true, and it could be anything. It could be about like politics, or we just had Halloween recently, so people talked about ghosts for a while. Religion is a really popular one. The most fun ones tend to be about religion. Is there anything you'd like to talk about that you'd like to reflect on with me?
I'm not a very religious person. My name's Aron.
Aron, sorry.
There you go. I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe that to some extent you have to put faith in other people.
Okay.
And that you can't be a completely shut off person who thinks that they are completely in control of their own destiny or their own life. So I do believe that faith is important, even though I don't necessarily put it in a higher power.
Gotcha. How would you define faith?
Faith is the ability to trust something even though you don't necessarily have evidence to back it up.
Whenever we reflect on the things that we believe, why do you turn to faith?
I don't know. In my own experience, I've definitely tried a lot of times to, even with something like running, like try to deal with my own problems, like by just shutting other people off and trying to figure it out myself. And I've definitely learned, especially recently, that you have to at least be willing to put faith in other people, even though they won't always do right by you, but you at least have to try. And typically it pays off.
Do you use faith in other aspects of your life outside of relationships?
Yeah, probably recently I've quit my job and actually my brother-in-law and sister and I are opening a brewery and that's been a huge step in terms of saying that we're going to put faith in our own abilities to succeed and not rely on external forces necessarily to bring us success. So that's been a learning experience. So
that's interesting. So with this brewery, if there was a way for you to have informed decisions where you had evidence and you didn't need to trust so much that it was going to work out, would you prefer it?
Restate the question. I want to hear the question again.
So it's okay. If, as you define faith as a sort of trusting but not really having evidence, when it comes to your brewery, your new business, if there was a way to have evidence that what you were going to do most likely would lead you to a successful brewery, would you prefer to have that evidence or would you prefer to take it on a trust?
Sure. I think it's a mix of both. Like we've definitely done research and said, okay, this is definitely something that can make money and make us happy or successful because we have other examples of it in this area. But it definitely, in terms of starting a brewery in a small town, you never know who's going to come through the door.
Yeah.
Or if anyone will come through the door. Or if you can actually make your product on that larger scale and it still be good. So it's definitely a mix of both. If someone could tell me today, yes, this brewery will succeed, sure, I would take it.
So whenever it comes to using faith, is one aspect or one component of it sort of a need to find comfort?
Sure, I think faith is definitely about comfort, for sure.
When we reflect on beliefs that we have, if we need to have comfort in them, is faith always the best method for finding that?
think it can be 50-50. I think sometimes faith is important, but I also think to just sort of sit back and hope that something will happen that will affect your life for better or worse can be a dangerous game to play. I think you at least have to sort of get up and try to do what you can to better your odds of having a good life.
Does faith ever have any downfalls?
Sure, I think when it comes to that, if someone is just 100% having faith on others or I call it a supernatural, or any other force other than themselves, 100%, you're just, I don't know, like if you're just deciding, oh, I'm going to win the lottery, so I'll just sit back and just buy a scratch-off ticket every day. I think that's a dangerous game to play, and I think some people do have that. They're just kind of waiting for that sort of thing to happen in their lives or for something to improve, but they're not taking steps to bring it about in some way.
Yeah. I think maybe one more question.
Sure.
Maybe two, I don't know. I never know how many questions I have in my head. Whenever we decide the methods for finding our comfort, what would be the percentage you think from like 0 to 100 that you think faith is useful?
That's a good question. I want to say it's half and half, but I don't know. I think that there's times when I've definitely relied more on just faith and it's paid off, and there's times where I've been extremely prepared and relied on my own sort of skills, and that's paid off. I don't know. I mean, 50-50 sounds right, but it probably is very situational depending on what situation you're in to some extent. So, like, I'm trying to think of a good situation where faith is a better alternative to being prepared. I'm not sure. And they're probably not opposing forces the way I'm making it, but...
When you say that... I lost my question. You are using faith to find comfort and... just losing it.
That's okay.
I really had one more, but I don't want to keep you too long.
That's okay. I can answer one more.
Okay.
I'm happy to have a reason to stop.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for stopping, honestly.
No problem. You have another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get it to come back because there's something about...
Is this first? What is this for? Can I ask? Or?
One more question. I almost got it.
Yeah,
Whenever we use faith, you have suggested that you sometimes have found where faith has sort of been lacking. So faith, for example, in a situation didn't lead to the conclusion you were hoping for. Am I rephrasing that correctly?
Sure.
Okay. Right. So whenever we use faith, if sometimes it could lead to a false conclusion, something that we didn't want, do you think there's any possibility that you could find another method that would lead towards a more effective epistemology for finding comfort in the things that we do in life?
Other than faith?
Yeah.
As someone who's been in like long-term relationships, I'm actually divorced, so I know that like I've put a lot of faith in another person or in like the institution of marriage itself to like sort of keep that relationship going, and I know now that doesn't work necessarily always. And I wish at that point when other people who I care for and whose advice, who had been through similar situations, if I would have like taken their advice earlier or sooner instead of being like, no, this is good. We're gonna get through this. And in retrospect, I should have been better about taking other people's advice and maybe actually having faith in them as opposed to just sort of saying, no, this is a marriage, it's going to work, and that's it, which is what I did. And it was not, I mean, it's fine now, but in retrospect, people were trying to help and offer good advice, and I was almost like turned their advice away and almost was like, I can't believe you're even telling me this. You know, that's not even like that's not even a possibility. But so I don't know if that's an answer. I think it kind of is.
That's a really good one. So like, whenever you were in a relationship, people were trying to give you advice and you were closed off to any new information.
Sure.
And in retrospect, you sort of reflect back on that and you think maybe faith wasn't the best method. So in the future, if maybe that sort of repeated in itself and again a few times maybe, or maybe if we just reflected on the reliability of faith, do you think maybe in the future your first course of action would be like, for example, evidence or talking to other people and seeing what they say?
Definitely.
Yeah?
100%. Like when I enter a new relationship now, I immediately ask, like I almost have a, it's not like I'm like, well, I'm not even going to have an opinion about this person until I talk to other people, but I definitely put myself in check a little bit. And I ask people like my sister or my brother-in-law, like, just tell me straight what you're thinking. And I'll either take their advice or I won't, but I will at least listen to their advice and at least try to avoid parts of my character that I know I'm like very easily trusting or something like that. So you got to have some checks and balances, I guess. So
Thank you very much, Aaron.
hey, it was great talking to you.
Great
This is like a
talking to
little
you.
therapy session. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope you meet some other people out here.
Peace.